New video now surfaces from Nanded in Maharashtra where they slap a man for not speaking in Marathi. Debris of the missing Russian passenger plane discovered in eastern Amur region. 43 passengers on board killed. Rishabh Pant has been ordered 6 weeks rest after he had to retire hurt and go for scans post a nasty foot injury when on 37 during the first day of the fourth test at Old Trafford. On this edition, we have a CNN News 18 exclusive. The Enforcement Directorate has launched a major crackdown on a tech support fraud racket that has been operating in Chandigarh. Enforcement Directorate sources have now revealed the nitty-gritties of this entire investigation to CNN News 18 and how these fraudsters operated under the facade of a legitimate BPO or a call center and IT services firm. Illicit funds were allegedly funneled through shell companies and overseas entities. It was an elaborate scheme that the Enforcement Directorate seems to have busted. Fake websites, payment getaways, all of which were set up by this particular company. And then money was routed through shell companies. That's something that the Enforcement Directorate is looking at. That money trail is now under the scanner of the agency. Anvit now joins us, getting us more details. Anvit, what have you gathered from your sources within the Enforcement Directorate?
See, these raids that were conducted midnight have certainly exposed a multi-layered transnational tech fraud ecosystem that existed. And these entities, what we're learning from the sources were systematically impersonated global tech brands to defraud foreign customers. Not just that, but funding proceeds through structured shell companies, spoof websites, and also payment gateways, later laundering them via banking channels and hawala channels. Also, the operations that has been conducted were professionally disguised, but fundamentally fraudulent, and they were run under the garb of BPOs and IT services. What top ED sources are telling CNN News 18 is that the entities such as SSAL Technologies and Trustpart funds via overseas fronts, they are using them as buffer layers to collect scam payments before routing them back to India. Also, officers have confirmed that this shows a calculated effort in putting all the efforts to evade domestic scrutiny. Not just that, but fraudulent use of Microsoft, HP, Arlo, Greek, and Squad USA branding was also central, building to trust. What ED has also told CNN News 18 that none of the implicated entities or directors had valid authorization from the companies they claim to support. Not just this, but also their inability to produce agreements reflect a deliberate strategy to exploit global brand names.
Right, so those are the details that are trickling in as far as the investigation in this Chandigarh racket is concerned. Thousands of people were exploited given the confidence by this particular firm. There were sophisticated operations that were conducted. It was a well-oiled machinery. That's what the Enforcement Directorate believes?
Yeah, certainly. See, they were devoid of promoter details and showcase fake IT park offices, images, and indicating a pattern of identity inflation to dupe clients with authorities. Also, these people who operated on these lines, they use WhatsApp messages and call transcripts and websites backend logs and provided direct evidence of tech fraud, also including Microsoft pop-up scams, link, and remote control of US-based entities from India. This also clearly suggests centralized orchestration by directors like of major firms, and also entities like Visionaries and Trustpart have been operational since 2016, showing the longevity and adaptive nature of these rackets. So when we spoke to senior officials in EV, they have confirmed this to CNN News 18, and it has also been confirmed that they have been using front companies in India.
Right. Anvit, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Shifting focus now to the big political story and the storm over the special intensive revision of the Bihar electoral roll that has the opposition up in arms. Latest data that has now been put out by the Election Commission. Now we'll give you more details of that. But shifting our focus now to the Prime Minister's visit to the United Kingdom. These are visuals now coming in of Prime Minister Modi along with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And both of them are meeting with leaders, business leaders. There are several engagements that the Prime Minister had. We're given to understand several business honchos are also meeting with the Prime Minister there. This comes at a time when India and the United Kingdom have signed that historic free trade agreement. It is a win-win situation for both countries, as was put by the Prime Minister after the signing of that free trade agreement. We're given to understand that both the Prime Ministers are now engaging with business leaders, with traders there, as a showcase of Indian jewelry, of Indian products is being made to the team that is travelling with the UK Prime Minister as he sits down, holds negotiations with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. These visuals are coming in of Prime Minister Modi and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. A showcase of India for the UK Prime Minister there. As you can see, conversations over a hot cup of chai between the two leaders. Remember, the Prime Minister was not in London. He was a few kilometers away at Chequers, where he met with Keir Starmer. Usually, we see these bilateral meetings take place at 10 Downing Street, but that was not the tradition this time around. There are several engagements for the Prime Minister that are lined up, including a meeting with King Charles later in the evening. But at the moment, what we're seeing is both the Prime Ministers getting a tour of a glimpse of India, both cultural, technological, and the kind of innovations that India seems to be leading the world towards. Anand Narasimhan, who is in London, my colleague, getting us more inputs, getting us more details. Anand, if you could tell our viewers, what are these engagements that the Prime Minister is currently involved in?
Well, this is part of the Prime Minister's bilateral or one-on-one engagement with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He's going to be spending some time, Poonam, right now at the Chequers between the delegation-level bilateral talks and also these one-on-one engagements with the UK Prime Minister. Obviously, this is also trying to build an equation between the two leaders, and Prime Minister Starmer showing through some of the trophies that have been won by England across the board. And this is cross sports, not just football, but also cricket and then rugby and some of the other achievements which are all placed there. This is, mind you, the Prime Minister's official residence, which is away from London. And that's why everything that has been a treasure of what England has won, including perhaps the Ashes trophy would be there, a replica of that would be there, and some memorable moments would be there. So those are some of the memorabilia and some of these which are curated at the official residence of the Prime Minister. But these pictures are also showing the deeper engagement between the two nations. And there is a reason why the Prime Minister is spending less time but quality time with his counterpart. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is spending less time but quality time with his counterpart. And Keir Starmer is also cleared his calendar till the time Prime Minister Narendra Modi is here. Mind you that, like we were mentioning earlier, that President Trump arrives in the United Kingdom tomorrow, but he meets Prime Minister Starmer only sometime on Monday. So over the weekend, he's going to be spending time in Scotland, roaming around, and his engagements before the official conversation happens on Monday. But here, the two leaders are actually speaking with each other and engaging at length. Interesting that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party is ideologically very, very different in terms of political ideology, but both have certain belief in welfare and socialism. So the welfare economics and the welfare, dimension of Britain got upended because of Brexit and also certain policies under the Conservative leadership. The Labour is trying to set that right, but also certain considerations, certain calls that the Labour groups have actually taken once they've come into power have also backfired. You cannot do welfare without creation of wealth. And that aspect of socio-capitalism, dharmic capitalism, as many traditional economists in Bharat who have studied Bharat's economy in the past would say, is something that has to be embraced. The other thing is that Keir Starmer has a lot to also understand from Prime Minister Narendra Modi in terms of how he has been able to negotiate these shifting sands and also turbulent waters as far as the geopolitical space is concerned. So sometimes these conversations are also happen where one plays the mentor, the other plays the mentee, one understands the other's perspective and also learns from the other. This is how you also strike equations between two leaders. Prime Minister Starmer is younger to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In terms of political experience, also as a national leader, Keir Starmer is just less than 1 year into power. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been in public life for more than 2 decades, and as Prime Minister for this is his third term as Prime Minister, so it's already into his 12th year. will also come into play in terms of equations. And I'm sure they will be having a conversation of how to deal with President Donald Trump, what each person understands where President Trump is coming, his own way of trying to rewrite the entire playbook of diplomacy, of geopolitical interactions and relations, the turbulent times in terms of UK's position on Palestine, UK's position on Israel, UK's position on the Iran-Israel conflict, UK's position with respect to NATO and also Russia, and in terms of doing business in these kind of, shifting, like I said, geopolitical situations. So these are things which I think these leaders will be speaking about, while they also understand and try and iron out certain considerations. So there will be a perspective that Bharat will bring via Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There's a perspective that UK will bring under the Labour leadership via Prime Minister Starmer, and then there will be a mutual understanding of each other's perspectives and what can be done and what cannot be done. See, Prime Minister Modi is very pragmatic. He always seems to understand what the other leader wants, understands the perspective, and is empathetic to where their considerations are, without compromising Bharat's concerns. And for those who try and bait him for his foreign policy, we have to see that leaders who are perhaps adverse to Bharat today are engaging with Bharat. Leaders who came to power on the India out strategy are inviting Bharat as one of the first nations to celebrate their Independence Day under their term. I'm talking about Muizu in Maldives. Look at how Anurag Desai, his engagement was an anti-India platform by which they come to power, and spending time in Sri Lanka, personally engaging with the Prime Minister and being with him all around and showing him all around. So because of Bharat's engagements. So these are things which are important. And Prime Minister has underlined, this is not a temporary relationship. This is not, this is bipartisan both ways. This is a 10-year engagement, irrespective of who's in power, who's the Prime Minister, which political leadership or which side of the political aisle is in power. This engagement is lasting, it's going to continue because it's going to benefit two nations and its people, most importantly. So I think those are things which will be, spoken with when these leaders are talking to each other one-on-one. And some of it perhaps will spill over even in the delegation level talks. So two leaders, if they have an understanding, they understand each other's frequency, they develop a comfort level, I think it's far easier to engage and talk. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a past master in being able to make these engagements, even perhaps with differing leaders.
Right. Anand, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Prime Minister's engagements there continue in the United Kingdom, and we'll keep getting you more updates from there. But let's listen in to what the Prime Minister and both Prime Ministers of both the countries had to say after the landmark signing of the Free Trade Agreement.
मुझे प्रसन्नता है कि कई वर्षों की मेहनत के बाद आज दोनों देशों के बीच कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक एंड ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट संपन्न हुआ है। यह समझौता मात्र आर्थिक साझेदारी नहीं, बल्कि साझा समृद्धि की योजना है। एक और भारतीय टेक्सटाइल, फुटवियर, जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी, सी फूड और इंजीनियरिंग गुड्स को यूके में बेहतर मार्केट एक्सेस मिलेगा। भारत के एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस और प्रोसेस्ड फूड इंडस्ट्री के लिए यूके की मार्केट में नए अवसर बनेंगे। भारत के युवाओं, किसानों, मछुआरों और एमएसएमई सेक्टर के लिए यह समझौता विशेष रूप से लाभकारी सिद्ध होगा। वहीं दूसरी ओर भारत के लोगों और इंडस्ट्री के लिए यूके में बने प्रोडक्ट्स जैसे मेडिकल डिवाइसेस और एरोस्पेस पार्ट सुलभ और किफायती दरों पर उपलब्ध हो सकेंगे।
It is a deal that will bring huge benefits to both of our countries, boosting wages, raising living standards, and putting more money in the pockets of working people. It is good for jobs, it is good for business, cutting tariffs and making trade cheaper, quicker, and easier. It is good for consumers because it will bring down prices on Indian goods in the United Kingdom, like clothes and shoes and food, and it will deliver benefits for the long term. It will add about £4.8 billion to the UK economy every year and £2.2 billion to wages and hundreds of millions of pounds to regions and nations up and down the United Kingdom.
A landmark free trade agreement has been signed between the two countries, but why is this special, especially for India? This is why there are several reasons why India has been looking forward to this. One, of course, is that this is a strategic shift and it marks that beyond traditional allies, beyond traditional blocs. This FTA signing also comes at a time when India and the United States are locked in negotiations over a trade agreement there. This also lays out a vision of a roadmap for the two countries to increase their trade. There is a Vision 2035 that has been looked at by both India and United Kingdom, and that's something that they will be working on as well. The focus is also on strategic co-development in defense. So that is another booster coming to the fore. India, remember, has been trying to push for self-reliance in the defense sector. Transfer of technology, working with other countries as part of this particular deal is going to be significant in that Atmanirbharta mission for India. This is also bringing in a boost for our farmers. As far as access to premium UK markets is concerned, that's something that Indian farmers, Indian agricultural sector will also have now something to look forward to. Support for fisheries is another important aspect of the free trade agreement. It is going to be beneficial to several coastal states, and that's something that is being highlighted by the Commerce Ministry as well. So this is something that India and the United Kingdom have now signed. It is a landmark deal that we've seen between the two countries. Prime Minister, of course, is still in the United Kingdom, but he does move on from there to his second leg of this visit, which is going to be in Maldives. He's in fact departing for Maldives later tonight. He is going to be in Maldives for 2 days, and that is at the invitation of President Mohamed Muizzu to join the celebrations that marks the 60th anniversary of Maldives' independence. It also marks the 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Maldives and India. Prime Minister Modi, before departing for his UK visit, had said how this visit to Maldives strengthens cooperation for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indian Ocean region. This visit is also significant because this does show a change in tide as far as relations between the two countries go. Remember, ties between India and Maldives were hit after Muizzu had come to power. It was an India out plank back in 2023. But his policies that he practiced in the early stage of his presidency are now seeming to change. There is a thaw in the relations between the two countries.
It's a very momentous visit. And the fact that, the President of Maldives has invited our Prime Minister as a chief guest for their 60th anniversary celebrations of independence, I think indicates the importance they attach to the relationship and, the relationship between President of Maldives and our Prime Minister. It's a remarkable turnaround in the relationship when one considers that just a short 1.5 years ago, this is a government in Maldives that had come on a certain anti-India plank. But I think in this period of time, they've understood that, India is a reliable, a stable partner. And in times of difficulty, India is the only country that they can go to.
Siddhant now joins us, getting us more details on this. Siddhant, the visit of the Prime Minister to Maldives is significant strategically. It marks a change in the tone and tenor that the President, Mr. Muizzu, had taken in the earlier part of his presidency. But what's on agenda for India and Maldives? What are the kind of deals, what are the kind of cooperations and sectors that we're looking at?
Well, that's right, Poonam. In fact, Poonam, since the very beginning, Maldives has always adopted foreign policy which is pro-India. Perhaps this was for the first time that in last 2 years we witnessed something which was not pro-India, or let's say pro-China. But in last 2 years there has been a complete turnaround in the foreign policy of the incumbent Muizzu government. And perhaps, now they have realized that our foreign policy not pro-aligned India perhaps could cost them. And this is one of the reasons that things are back to normal. In fact, last year, President Muizu visited India. He was on a state visit. Many key agreements were signed. This time around, President Muizu invited Prime Minister Modi to visit Maldives on 60th Independence Day of Maldives, and this is also this year is also 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties between India and Maldives. Also, very important to highlight for our viewers, Poonam, that in last 2 years, President Muizu has not hosted any foreign dignitary in Maldives. So Prime Minister Modi is the first foreign dignitary to be visiting Maldives in President Muizu's tenure. So Maldives is a very crucial partner, Poonam, in India's neighborhood first policy and Mahasagar vision. In fact, time and again, India has responded to the crisis in Maldives, whether it's 1988 coup attempt, tsunami, COVID crisis. India has always been there. This time around, the problem is big, and Maldives is going through its worst economic crisis. This has been going on from quite some time. In fact, last year when President Muizu was in New Delhi, at that point in time, also India extended financial assistance to Maldives, by currency swapping and extending credit line. To keep the Maldivian economy floated, Maldives need India, and perhaps there's a lot of expectations also from the Indian side. So we could expect some big announcement in that regard. Then trade agreement is something that both sides are negotiating.
Right. So does that fructify or not? We'll have to wait and watch. But for the moment, Sudhan, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. In fact, we have been speaking to stakeholders, to politicians in Maldives of why exactly this visit of the Prime Minister is significant. In fact, Sudhan did speak with former Maldives President Mohammad Nasheed, who has strongly backed deeper ties with India, especially about defense cooperation between the two countries and how that's vital for both those countries. And that's something that Muizu needs to see. Listen in.
First, I would like to ask you about this historic visit of Prime Minister Modi to Maldives. How do you look at this visit of PM Modi to Maldives, especially after a full turnaround in a relationship from India Out campaign to welcoming Modi in Male? How do you look at that?
Well, first, thank you very much for having me. Well, it's very encouraging, and we welcome the visit immensely.
Okay.
Maldives traditionally has maintained a foreign policy that is more aligned with India. But recently, after elections, we've seen that these policies shift from being more aligned to, let's say, China.
Yeah.
But with the recent turnaround of the present government and coming to understand the political reality and the landscape of our economic prosperity and development in the Maldives, they have also now aligned themselves on a more pro-India foreign policy. So now we have a beautiful situation where across the spectrum of Maldives politics, both sides are on a more India-aligned foreign policy.
Okay.
So for us, it is very important that we maintain good relations with governments in India.
Okay.
We have very good relations with the people of India. As you know,
Indeed.
We watch the same films, we eat the same food, we read the same books, and we are very similar people.
Yeah.
We visit India all the time for medical reasons, for education, for recreation, to meet friends. So we have a very good people-to-people relations. But now, as I mentioned, we also have good government-to-government relations as well. So this is a historic visit. It's very encouraging that the Prime Minister is coming. I believe this would also open up for more tourists to arrive from India to the Maldives.
So you have always been a champion of India-Maldives relations. So I would like to would like to talk to you about your perspective, and in fact, if you can elaborate a little bit about India, how India has come to rescue Maldives all the times whenever Maldives is in crisis. Talk to us a little bit about India as a first responder for Maldives.
Well, we always kind of mark and with gratitude how India has responded at the 1988 coup attempt when India came and aborted the coup attempt. When the tsunami came again, we got Indian assistance. There was a water crisis here. Again, India was the first responder. During the COVID, India was the first responder. Now, these are traditional matters, and we are extremely thankful that India is around to back us up in times of needs. But right now, our biggest challenge is debt. The country is at 130% of their debt to GDP ratio stands at about 130% of GDP. We have big amounts that has to be paid this year and also next year. So Indian assistance above everything else have made sure that we have not gone default. I think that's very important. We've seen what happened to Sri Lanka when they went into default. So we've been able to maintain our nose above the sea in a sense, and then not go into default, and thanks for India.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar's sudden resignation has sparked a political fallout, revealing simmering tensions within the government. Sources say Dhankhar frequently clashed with senior ministers, even humiliating them during conversations. But this obviously the falling out after the Vice President has resigned, and many try to understand why it is that it seemed that the government was upset with him. This is, of course, one version of events being patched together. Reports now coming through ahead of the US Vice President's visit. A report that he demanded his portrait be displayed alongside the Prime Minister's, requested for a Mercedes. These are just reports coming in from sources right now, as many try to piece together exactly what could have happened that led to this abrupt resignation. We're just playing out reactions for you.
सर, दो मसले पे सरकार और आप लोग आमने सामने हैं। उपराष्ट्रपति के इस्तीफे का मसला और एसआईआर का मसला। उपराष्ट्रपति को लेकर चुनाव आयोग ने तैयारी शुरू कर दिया। विपक्ष की तरफ से उम्मीदवार को लेकर कोई बातचीत हो रही है?
देखिए, अब तक इस बारे में कोई बातचीत नहीं हुई है, लेकिन ये एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट मसला है उपराष्ट्रपति का, और हम इंडिया ब्लॉक के लोग एक साथ बैठकर उस बारे में निर्णय लेंगे।
तो साझा उम्मीदवार देंगे जैसे पिछली बार दिया था?
डेफिनेटली देंगे।
Okay, we're going to go over to our two reporters on this story, Payal and our colleague Pallavi, both joining us on this story. Payal, since the abrupt resignation of the Vice President, many trying to piece together exactly what happened that evening that could have led to this. Now more stories coming through. Could you shed a light?
This is not an overnight, decision by the Uprashtrapati himself is what we're given to understand. But as far as his behavior with certain leaders within the ranks are concerned, it has been putting a lot of things into piece, given the fact that he constantly had abruptions. He had run-ins with ministers in the government. He was very, very dismissive of certain senior ministers in the government. All of this is coming to the fore right now, given the fact that on that day itself, he was approached by the government on 3 occasions throughout the entire day. First, JP Nadda and Kiran Rijiju, then Kiran Rijiju and Arjuna Meghwal. Finally, Mr. Arjuna Meghwal trying to tell him that, this is a united way in which everybody wants to take up the issue of Justice Verma. But the Vice President of India at that point in time probably was not even willing to listen to the government. He just kept on telling them that he knows what his duties really are, and he needs no lecture on that. So that is something which has come to the fore. Of course, his behavior over the last 6-7 months, there are no surprises of knowing that he's been very, very dismissive of ministers in the government. About 6 to 7 months ago, on a public platform, he had humiliated Agriculture Minister Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, after which, of course, there was a lot of back and forth between the government and him. And then he had to come out and say that Shivraj Singh Chauhan is actually a well-wisher of the farmers. So his behavioral traits, the way he would dismiss the ruling side, the fact that he became over-friendly with the opposition side, a lot of theories coming to the fore. But what we are able to understand that Mr. Dhankar had seen a 360-degree change in behavior over the last 1.5 years is what we're given to understand, and not very becoming of the vice president. It's a constitutional post. It is his duty to keep everybody together. It is his duty to listen to all sides. But on that day itself, despite 3 attempts being made by the government saying that yes, we are also getting signatures done, the signatures are for the same cause, we submitted it into Lok Sabha. And very importantly, Mr. Dhankar met Kiran Rijiju on Sunday afternoon. Mr. Rijiju conveyed the same thing to him. Back then also, Mr. Dhankar gave no hint whatsoever that he was in receipt of the opposition motion and that he was going to admit it. And even before that, 4 to 5 days before that, also senior ministers in the government had in fact approached Mr. Dhankar, told him about the entire thing because it is the duty of the government to keep the chair also appraised over what's happening and what is the business that is really coming in. But what business comes in is obviously the business of the government and business of the Parliamentary Affairs Minister. But
Okay.
Mr. Dhankar was extremely dismissive, and that's actually shocking. So much so that when he went to resign submit his resignation to the President of India, it is learned that many senior ministers in the government also discovered about this only when they saw the resignation letter on social media. There was no opinion taken from the government. There was no opinion taking in from the Prime Minister. There was no appointment sought with the President of India.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5, and the storm over the special intensive revision of the Bihar electoral rolls continues. 61 lakh voters have now been found ineligible in this SIR verification drive by the Election Commission. The poll panel has also confirmed that 99% voter forms have been returned. There's 1 day to go before the exercise officially completes, and they hope that this 1% is also returned by then. But otherwise, if any voter is felt as to be excluded from the draft rolls, then they can be added by the 1st of September as an assurance that the poll panel has given. In fact, the EC has called this a major step towards accurate rolls. But the opposition is not convinced. There are protests that we have seen both in Patna and in the parliament here as well. In fact, CEC Ganesh Kumar has backed this poll revision, also responding to the allegations that these opposition leaders have been making. The first phase is nearly complete is what we're given to understand, but leaders like Tejasvi Yadav from Bihar have accused the Election Commission of fraudulent deletions. They've questioned the Election Commission's integrity as well, even going on to threaten a poll boycott. His ally, Rahul Gandhi, meanwhile, warned the Election Commission and said that they will be held accountable. "We are coming for you," said Rahul Gandhi to the Election Commission. This comes at a time when there is a strict deadline that has to be adhered to. It also comes at a time when we've seen the parliament pretty much be paralyzed, both houses, where there have been no discussions, very little business that has been held because the opposition MPs have been protesting against this exercise, even coming into the well of the House.
Thousands and thousands of new voters. New voters. How old are they? 50, 45, 60, 65. New voters. Thousands and thousands and thousands. Yes. And this is one thing, right? Voter deletion, voter addition. New voters who are 18, who are way above 18. So we have caught them. Okay, and I want to send a message to Election Commission. Yes, sir. If you think you're going to get away with this, if your officers think you're going to get away with this, you're mistaken. You're not going to get away with it. Because we are going to come for you.
In fact, RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav has launched a fierce attack now on the BJP. They've accused the ruling party of undermining democratic values. Former Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar has now added that despite his parents being abused in the past, he chose not to respond. But today he claimed that BJP supporters had stooped to a new low by personally abusing him.
लगातार जो है हमारे भाषण को डिस्टर्ब करने का प्रयास किया जा रहा था। आज जो है इनका चेला चपाट गाली दे रहा। सच सुनने की हिम्मत इन भाजपाइयों गुंडों में नहीं रह गई। विद एविडेंस बात कर रहे थे, तर्क के साथ बात कर रहे थे, पॉइंट टू पॉइंट बात कर रहे थे। इन लोगों के पास कोई जवाब नहीं, तो जाहिर से तौर पे ये लोग चाहते थे उत्पांग मचाना। अरे विपक्ष का काम है सवाल पूछना, आपका काम है जवाब देना, और आप जवाब नहीं देना चाहते, आप सवाल नहीं लेना चाहते। ये लोकतंत्र के मंदिर को इन लोगों ने गंदा करने का प्रयास किया है।
Arunima now joins us, getting us more details. Arunima, we're seeing this political fight not die down, and it's not going to anytime soon. Once this exercise is over as well, we are going to be seeing in the run-up to the assembly elections in the state of Bihar that opposition will continue to make these allegations against the poll panel and the BJP.
Yes, it got very ugly in the Vidhan Sabha today. Earlier also, Samrat Chaudhary, the Deputy Chief Minister, had referred to Lalu Prasad Yadav as the Gabbar of Bihar. Today also, on the floor of the House, he called him a criminal, and these are words that are being strongly objected to. Lalu Prasad Yadav's sons, both Tej Pratap and Tejasvi, have reacted sharply to this, saying, why are you abusing our parents? And on the question of Jungle Raj also, because there was a spate of law and order issues, there were crimes, ghastly crimes, heinous crimes, murders happening in Bihar. What RJD was turning around and asking is, Jungle Raj has come back, but now the shoe is on your foot because you are in power. And add to that the SIR issue, where even the threat of boycotting elections is being made by Tejasvi Yadav. He says, I'm going to seriously speak to my alliance partners whether there's any point in contesting these elections anymore. So it's getting very acrimonious. While Rahul Gandhi here in the national capital is training his guns on the EC alone, Rahul Gandhi said, we'll come for you, to which EC officials turned around and said that, there is still time. If there is any eligible voter who any political party feels is being left out, you can provide the relevant documents all through August. 30 days time is still available where claims and counterclaims can be checked. So what is the hue and cry about is what EC is asking. But now that these latest figures have come, 61 lakh voters could lose their place in the draft electoral rolls. Opposition is making a big deal about this, saying you're disenfranchising the marginalized.
Right, Arunima, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll, of course, keep a track of what transpires both in the assembly in Patna and in the parliament here in the national capital. But on the sidelines, the political war of words is only getting more acerbic. Let's listen into some of those reactions.
नहीं, ये धमकी भी है और लोकतंत्र में आस्था नहीं है उसका भी प्रतीक है। 28 तारीख को सुप्रीम कोर्ट इस पर अपना निर्णय देने वाला है। तब तक ईसी को भी, राजनीतिक दलों को भी यकीन करना चाहिए, भरोसा करना चाहिए, इंतजार करना चाहिए। और आरजेडी के नेताओं का ये वक्तव्य क्या 28 तारीख के फैसले को प्रभावित करने की प्रक्रिया का हिस्सा है? 1 महीने का समय मिलेगा आपको सत्यापन के लिए। आपका नाम कटा है तो, जुड़ा है तो, मृत हैं तो, जीवित है तो, वयस्क मतदाता हैं तो, 2 जगह आपका नाम है तो। और अब सब राजनीतिक दलों के जो बीएलए हैं वो वोट की प्रक्रिया में लगे हुए हैं।
Well, I'm absolutely not shocked or amazed at the statement of Tejasvi. Tejasvi ji has been the Deputy Chief Minister. He has been a part of the government. He's a knowledgeable person as far as Bihar politics is concerned. He's the son of Lalu Prasad Yadav. With the whole family, I have been contesting for the last 40 years. So I know them very well. And having said that, if there can be only 2 facts to it. There can only be 2 facts to it. A, Tejasvi has realized that there is no elections for them and it's going to be a bitter defeat. So he wants to walk out of it. The second could be that he wants to play politics. But for me, I think the first aspect, that he can visualize the defeat all around, has possibly prompted him to make such a statement. It's for him to decide.
How do you decide who's an illegal voter? Election Commission of India does not have the constitutional right to delve on citizenship. Their job is to review a voter's list. Who's dead, who's alive, who's moved cities. But what the ECI is actually doing is doing what is purely within the jurisdiction of the Home Ministry of India, who has done NRC in Assam, for instance. So through the voter list review, they are bringing in citizenship, which is an issue which Election Commission of India cannot do. If anybody can delve on an inquiry on citizenship, it's the Home Ministry.
देखिए, ये तो बैठ करके चर्चा पार्टी के बड़े नेता सब लोग मिलकर के करेंगे, उसके ऊपर मैं कुछ नहीं कह सकता। लेकिन एक SIR एक ऐसा मुद्दा है जो बाबा साहेब भीमराव अंबेडकर के सपनों को चकनाचूर कर रहा है। दलितों के, पिछड़ों के, आदिवासियों के, मुसलमानों के साथ इतने डॉक्यूमेंट्स मांग करके इस तरह से वोटों को काटा जाएगा तो निश्चित रूप से लोकतंत्र के ऊपर और उस चुनाव प्रणाली के ऊपर, जिसमें बाबा साहब ने देश के अंदर राजा और रंक को एक ही तराजू के पलड़े में तोलने का काम किया, सबको एक समान अधिकार दिया, उसके ऊपर कुठाराघात हो। एसआईआर का मुद्दा अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है और एसआईआर के ऊपर हम लोग पूरी तरीके से संघर्ष करेंगे, क्योंकि एसआईआर के माध्यम से ये देश को गुलामी की तरफ धकेलने की एक साजिश है कि देश के अंदर 90% लोग गुलामी करें और 10% लोग राज करें।
Moving on now, the Supreme Court has reserved its order in the high-profile Renukaswamy murder case, expressing serious concerns about the Karnataka High Court's decision to grant bail to Kannada actor Darshan and other accused individuals. The apex court sharply criticized the manner in which the High Court had handled the case, describing the bail order as a perverse exercise of judicial discretion. The top court raised questions about the adequacy of the lower court's evaluation of the case, particularly given the severity of the crime. Remember, the Renukaswamy murder case, in which Darshan is the primary suspect, had sparked significant public outrage, and the handling of the accused's bail has now become a focal point of debate. Ananya, my colleague, joins us, getting us more details. Ananya, this kind of stinging observations from the Supreme Court also comes at a time when videos have surfaced of the prime accused in this case, the actor Darshan, having a gala time while out on bail.
Well, definitely, all of this has been taken into consideration by, in fact, the Supreme Court while making these observations and reserving its order as far as the Karnataka government's appeal, seeking cancellation of, in fact, the bail granted to, actor Darshan is concerned. It went on to say that, it is a perverse way in which the judicial interpretation has been made. And, in fact, what was the High Court doing? Does the High Court actually, grant bail in other cases like this too? So various observations against the Karnataka High Court coming in from the topmost court of the country. And it seems that it might not be a good order for Darshan coming in, because there might be that the Supreme Court can cancel, in fact, the bail granted to actor Darshan. Though generally in such cases, these things do not happen. Cancellation of bail is a very, very difficult part to achieve. But on the same time, if you see the kind of observations being made by the Supreme Court, it seems that the Karnataka government's appeal might succeed in the topmost of the country.
Right, Ananya, thank you so much for getting us the latest. Moving on now, a passenger plane with nearly 50 people on board went missing in Russia's Far East region. The debris of the plane was found in the eastern Amur region, with local reports suggesting that there were no survivors. Reuters news agency quoted service officials of Russia saying that all on board the flight were feared dead. However, an official confirmation on the same is still awaited. The families of those are, of course, hoping against hope that there are some survivors. The aircraft was an AN-24 passenger plane. It was operated by a Siberia-based airline. It was headed for a town in the Amur region bordering China. The burning fuselage of the plane was spotted on the ground by a helicopter. Rescue crews were rushed to the scene, and those operations still continue. Anvit now joins us, getting us more details. Anvit, it's been a few hours since reports of that crash emerged, since that debris was spotted. Do we have any details of where the operation is at?
The regional authorities have stated that there were 43 passengers, 5 of them children, and 6 crew members on board. And the authorities are, however, confirming off the record that there are no survivors in this crash. However, an authority is yet to put this on record. There's no word on record so far. It was a Siberia-based Angara airline that was operating this aircraft. The aircraft was Antov 24 aircraft. These are old aircrafts, however, still in service and used for regional transportation and flights. This plane was headed for the town of Tinda in Amur region when this incident took place. This Amur region is bordering China and was believed to be a few kilometers from its destination when it lost contact with this ATC. It is being said that it lost contact when it was on the landing approach and it was preparing to land. The wreckage, however, shortly after the plane lost contact with the ATC, was discovered on a mountainside 16 kilometers left of Tinda. Now, preliminary reports have suggested that there were no distress signals sent by the pilot before the plane lost its contact with the radar and with the ATC. Also, reports from emergency services have indicated that there could be a possibility that there has been no survivor in this crash. Now, if we talk about what possibly could have went wrong, it is being said that possibly, most likely, it was a crew error during the low visibility landing that is likely to be investigated in this case. Also, the airline's last inspection that reports are suggesting was conducted in July 25 this month. So, it is possible that there might not have been any mechanical error with this flight. Also, the region where this crash has taken place is a mountainous terrain and can create strong turbulence and wind patterns, making it difficult for the pilots to control the aircraft in particularly this region. Also, pilots must be CAT must be thorough with the cat landing procedures, CAT, and also pilots must prepare for severe thunderstorm and potentially challenging flying conditions, particularly in this Amur region. So the weather factors or external factors are also something that are being looked into. But so far, the bad news is that regional authorities are hinting that there could be possibly no survivors. And when the investigation will be taken up and when the basic data wreckage will be studied and the black box will be recovered, only then it will be confirmed as to what went wrong, whether it was a human error or because these are old aircraft, there could have possibility of a mechanical error as well.
Right, the details will tumble out once the investigation takes steam from there. But for the moment, Anvit, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. It is time for a quick break here on this edition of Nation at 5. But news and updates continue on CNN News 18. Do stay tuned.
Brought to you by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar's sudden resignation has sparked a political fallout, revealing simmering tensions within the government. Sources say Dhankhar frequently clashed with senior ministers, even humiliating them during conversations. But this obviously the falling out after the Vice President has resigned, and many try to understand why it is that it seemed that the government was upset with him. This is, of course, one version of events being patched together. Reports now coming through ahead of the US Vice President's visit. A report that he demanded his portrait be displayed alongside the Prime Minister's, requested for a Mercedes. These are just reports coming in from sources right now, as many try to piece together exactly what could have happened that led to this abrupt resignation. We're just playing out reactions for you.
सर, दो मसले पे सरकार और आप लोग आमने सामने हैं, उपराष्ट्रपति के इस्तीफे का मसला और SIR का मसला। उपराष्ट्रपति को लेकर चुनाव आयोग ने तैयारी शुरू कर दिया। विपक्ष की तरफ से उम्मीदवार को लेकर कोई बातचीत हो रही है?
देखिए, अब तक इस बारे में कोई बातचीत नहीं हुई है, लेकिन ये एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट मसला है उपराष्ट्रपति का, और हम इंडिया ब्लॉक के लोग एक साथ बैठकर उस बारे में निर्णय लेंगे।
तो साझा उम्मीदवार देंगे जैसे पिछली बार दिया था?
डेफिनेटली देंगे।
Okay, we're going to go over to our two reporters on this story, Payal and our colleague Pallavi, both joining us on this story. Payal, since the abrupt resignation of the Vice President, many trying to piece together exactly what happened that evening that could have led to this. Now more stories coming through. Could you shed a light?
This is not an overnight, decision by the Uprashtrapati himself is what we're given to understand. But as far as his behavior with certain leaders within the ranks are concerned, it has been putting a lot of things into peace, given the fact that he constantly had abruptions. He had run-ins with ministers in the government. He was very, very dismissive of certain senior ministers in the government. All of this is coming to the fore right now, given the fact that on that day itself, he was approached by the government on 3 occasions throughout the entire day. First, JP Nadda and Kiran Rijiju, then Kiran Rijiju and Arjuna Meghwal. Finally, Mr. Arjuna Meghwal trying to tell him that, this is a united way in which everybody wants to take up the issue of Justice Burma. But the Vice President of India at that point in time probably was not even willing to listen to the government. He just kept on telling them that he knows what his duties really are and he needs no lecture on that. So that is something which has come to the fore. Of course, his behavior over the last 6-7 months, there are no surprises of knowing that he's been very, very dismissive of ministers in the government. About 6 to 7 months ago, on a public platform, he had humiliated Agriculture Minister Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, after which, of course, there was a lot of back and forth between the government and him. And then he had to come out and say that Shivraj Singh Chauhan is actually a well-wisher of the farmers. So his behavioral traits, the way he would dismiss the ruling side, the fact that he became over-friendly with the opposition side, a lot of theories coming to the fore. But, what we are able to understand that Mr. Dhankhar had seen a 360-degree change in behavior over the last 1.5 years is what we are given to understand, and not very becoming of the Vice President. It's a constitutional post. It is his duty to keep everybody together. It is his duty to listen to all sides. But on that day itself, despite 3 attempts being made by the government saying that yes, we are also getting signatures done, the signatures are for the same cause, we submitted it into Lok Sabha, and very importantly, Mr. Dhankhar met Kiran Rijiju on Sunday after.
Thank you so much for staying with us. And we're talking about a historic feat here on Nation at 5. 19-year-old rising Indian chess star Divya Deshmukh has made headlines by becoming the first Indian to qualify for the finals of the 2025 FIDE Women's World Cup. This win also secures a spot in the prestigious Candidates Tournament of 2026, making her the first teenager in 34 years to reach the stage. Divya, who faced off against China's experienced candidate in the semi-finals, was seen as the underdog. Yet, in a thrilling match, she pulled off an impressive victory, moving just one step away from the World Cup title. However, the young star humbly reflected on her performance, her journey so far, and admitted that she could have played better, expected a smoother victory path.
Divya, what an amazing and thrilling game. You've just qualified for the candidates, you've qualified for the final, you've just done a Grandmaster norm. You must be ecstatic. What are your feelings now, Divya?
I don't know. I think I could have played much better. I was winning from a certain point and then it got complicated and I think I messed up in the middle game. But yeah, I think I should have had a much smoother win, and she put up such a good fight at some point. I was just doubting if it's a draw, but I think I got lucky in the end. I'm not sure if there was a draw at any point, but
You'll see later on.
yeah, I think there was.
Okay. Thousands of followers have been watching the game, thrilled with the performance. What do you have to say to them that they've been following you all the afternoon?
Thank you so much for all your love and support. I don't really have much to say. My thoughts are not clear right now.
But now you have 2 extra days. What are you going to do with these 2 days before the final?
I need some sleep. These days have been so anxious. I just need some sleep and some food.
Divya Deshmukh, the first qualifier for the Women's World Cup final.
Let's now get you a quick roundup of all that's made news here in the country, beginning with actor Rana Daggubati, who is in trouble with the Enforcement Directorate over an illegal betting app case. He was initially scheduled to appear before the Enforcement Directorate yesterday, but has now sought more time, citing prior film commitments. The Enforcement Directorate has now issued fresh summons, asking him to appear on the 11th of August. Other actors, including Prakash Raj and Vijay Devarkonda, are also expected to appear before the agency later this week. Gujarat ATS has arrested 4 suspected Al-Qaeda module members from Gujarat, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. The accused allegedly used Instagram to radicalize youth, promote Al-Qaeda's content and incite terror in the name of Ghazwa-e-Hind. The nationwide crackdown followed digital surveillance and joint intel operations. A man was caught on CCTV defacing a Kolkata metro train with black spray paint, marking a large X on the coach door while passengers watched in silence. The incident took place on the blue line of the metro. Officials have now launched an investigation. A Hindu temple in Melbourne was desecrated with hateful slurs painted in red, telling the community to go home. The Swaminarayan temple, a symbol of peace and prayer, was one of the 4 targeted in a string of hate crimes. Pawan Kalyan, superstar and Deputy Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, is gearing up for the release of Harihara Veera Ballu on 24th of July. In an exclusive conversation with CNN News 18's Shosha and Titash Chaudhary, he broke his silence on the director's sudden exit, on the film producer and the dues that have been clouding the release of the film. He confirmed his retirement from acting and how most of his films have struggled due to financial crisis, often leading him to let go of his fees.
Hello everyone, welcome to News 18. I am Titash Chaudhary in conversation with Pawan Kalyan. Hello sir, how are you?
Good.
Such an honor. Thank you for making the time for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about your film, Harihara Veera Ballu. And are you relieved that the film is finally releasing?
For any filmmaker or actor, it would be great relief. The work coming to an end and going into public. I'm not used to promotions and all through my life, because when I started filmmaking, when I got into films, there was no such concept of giving interviews and all. It used to get released. So I got used to that. Now it is a quite new thing. I think last 10, 12 years I've been completely dedicated my time in politics, invested my time in politics, last 15 years. So cinema took quite a backseat.
Yeah.
So finally took this particular film was quite interesting for me in the first place to sign, and the later part is I took almost 3 to 5 years, I think 5 years to finish it. So it's a great relief and to take it off my chest, the weight.
Right. Right. You know, of course, you were also busy with your political commitments, because of which, you know, and there were other reasons such as the COVID-19 pandemic, because of which the films did suffer delays. Was there ever that thought in your mind, that fear that what if the film gets shelved, what if it doesn't get made at all?
I had those fears, yes, without a doubt. Because the problem is the burden of finance really brings down the film. And more than finance, it is about the perseverance approach would be lost in the filmmakers. Even as an actor, for a long time I grew my hair, which I don't want to. And constantly to be in that alert mode, okay, when they're going to call, okay, and that was how that happened. And to pursue one particular, because normally a film should plan a lot, and finishing should be less than 6 months. I think that's what I like. But this took a very unusually 5 years time, which never happened before. I think that too, being a period film in the Mughal era, I felt I wanted to take the load off my chest, I think.
Right.
That was a great relief for me.
Yeah.
To hold on, to make sure to, because the moment the time gets extended, we might lose the kind of the output might be lost. The very intention how it started off, and as the time goes by, I think everyone then to keep the entire crew as focused as one unit, I think it's quite difficult, including the actors.
Right.
I think in that way, I think we are fortunate enough to keep entire stock together.
Right. But you know, for a film of this scale, you know, logistical, financial constraints will be there. It is inevitable. You cannot do anything about it. But what did you, sir, take away from all of this that happened? How is your relationship with A.R. Ratnam today? I don't,
because I understand, because I came from, though my brother is Chiranjeevi, I have a good background in a way, but I stood on my own always. So I had always financial difficulties for my entire film.
Really?
Yeah. So to release the film, always we used to run to pillar to post, what to do. And I kind of, I can't say self-respect, but I want to be so independent, I don't seek help. Because I want to be completely self-sufficient, so I took the burden. So I thought maybe a day will get better, but the size of load has increased. But the situation has never changed in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe film budgets have increased, but the financial load always somehow it used to hit me.
Yeah.
Either I had to forego my remuneration, or else I have to do some signatures to with the financials to get film released. Yeah, and all the strange things do happen. And rest of the actors, they maybe I don't know what they do, but in my case, they are quite recurring.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The SIR fight in Bihar has reached a new crescendo, with RJD threatening to boycott the upcoming elections in the state. Tejashwi Yadav has said there's no point in fighting elections if they are not held properly, and that they are contemplating a boycott. Opposition parties have claimed that the EC exercise will disenfranchise crores of eligible citizens. But in the event that the matter is in the Supreme Court, how fair is it to threaten a boycott already? Opposition parties and others had contended that the exercise is not just ill-timed but downright unconstitutional. They did not get the relief, though, that they were seeking in the court and didn't press for a stay eventually. Next hearing is now on July